today in WhatsApp, why did we create a EC2 instance? Can any one of you tell me what is the significance of creation of EC2 or Windows or EC2 Linux machine which we created yesterday? Can any one of you correlate your work which you guys are doing day to day? I think we have more than 10, 12 years of experience, people here. So I think it will be good to hear from you all.
It's basically like instead of setting up all the things by our own in our own mission, we with the help of EC2 instance, we're able to connect to a cloud instance where everything like infrastructure will be maintained by some service provider, where basically like we avoid like less cost and spend less resource on our like local mission where you connect the cloud mission using any browser or kind of thing. Then you can do our work whatever you want, and you can pay for the services you use like based on the subscription.
That is. But still, what do we do with that EC2 instance? Whatever you are saying is correct. EC2 instance will create and we are not maintaining. Somebody will be maintaining that. We just have to pay whatever the duration we have used. But what exactly uh, the actual usage? What do we do with those EC2 instances?
We are creating like a virtual machines where you can use it for our work anything like in our case like we did like a web services we run that one like that.
That is correct. See, I got a couple of questions, today saying that why did we create? What is the significance of, creation of EC2 instances? So there is we need a machine. It's a computer. Let's say most of you, let's say if you guys are using Google.com, and whenever we type Google.com and if you search ICMC, we will get some sort of information about ICMC, correct? Which means somewhere we were hosted these information, right? Where exactly we host our applications or website or any HTML doc or whatever the code base, each and everything that has to be maintained in a computer, right? So that computer we call that as a server, and that server we call as EC2 instance in AWS or in cloud, right? So it is just a system or it's a physical computer we will try to purchase temporarily and we'll make our work and we'll execute something, and once that is done, we'll just destroy our instance. So as we are practicing, so we'll just create the instance. When I say instance, it's a EC2 or it's a server, and we will make necessary changes, and we will be happy with our implementation, and we will just terminate those instances as and when we complete our work. But in real time, and when you get into organization, if you get a chance to work on AWS instances, you are not supposed to delete the instances. So because that will be taken care by the organization itself. They will be going with some business plans and they'll have some good deals and discounts with the cloud vendor, and they'll be maintaining the uh, server. Which means, see, when I say real-time applications, those applications should not get stopped, correct? Which means my instances or server should be up and running. Nowhere I should be able to stop those instances. For example, if you are going, if you try to purchase in Amazon, then if somebody stops that EC2 machine, see Amazon.com again, it has hosted in a EC2 instance on a server. If somebody stops that, then we cannot work. We will not be able to open that Amazon.com itself, right? So this is one of the significance. Wherever we see EC2 instance, wherever we call server, it is for ourselves to do something, to execute something. Most of you are using HP tool, HBAML to track your defect, or most of you guys are using Jira or many tools, right? These are all the applications. These are all the applications which are built on top of the EC2 instance. Yeah, I think I answered this question. Okay. So yesterday what we did, so we just created a Windows machine and we installed Apache Tomcat, right? How did we install? So first we created a EC2 instance, and after creation of EC2 instance, what we did, we updated the yum repository and afterwards we installed HTTPD service on EC2 instance, and afterwards we stop the service. So the typical steps of any of the software installation are, first of all, we need to update the repository. Why do we need to update the repository? Because it's a OS level update. So if, let's say if somebody have installed this particular operating system 2 months before or 1 year before, but maybe they might not updated the OS itself. So if that is the case, so it is always good practice and recommended steps to update the repository, so that if there are any new packages are coming in, those packages get updated. And after we update the repository, install the software. Once we install the software, then check the status of the service. Which service? It's a Tomcat service. If you are installing Tomcat or HTTPD service of HTTPD. And if once we check if the status is not running, then we need to start the HTTPD service, and we need to go ahead and host our public IP or DNS name of your is a typical steps you need to follow in any of the software installation. But yesterday we did install Apache Tomcat, so we have followed the same thing. And from going forward, we'll be installing, Oracle or MySQL software as well to make EC2 instance as a database server, right? So in that case, again, we'll be following the same steps, but the installation package may differ, right? And the ports, whatever port which are listening to these, services, this may differ, but these steps remain same. All right. Okay. Now, we will try to understand what exactly Bootstrap is. Okay. See, in order to make my EC2 instance as a web server, what did we do? We created a EC2 instance. Created EC2, and afterwards we did these many things. Correct? Etc. So these are all manually. We have executed all these commands, or we install software manually. But in some cases, it is recommended to execute some scripts during the instance creation. During the instance creation. So that is the reason it is called as boot script, which means whenever we are booting our application or server, during that time, there are some dependent scripts needs to be executed. If at all if that is your requirement, so it is better to uh, execute these boot scripts while creating a instance itself. Guys, are you following me? We basically, if I have to make a EC2 instance as a web server, we have to create a EC2 instance, and we'll have to perform these many steps to make a EC2 instance as a web server. But if there is a way, if there is a way that if you don't want to follow these steps also, by writing some script, if you could able to achieve this parameters or this task, then we'll be happy. Correct? So that's what we are going to do. Boot scripts, in the sense, these basically we'll try to execute this when we are launching our EC2 instance, so that whatever the commands we used to give as part of boot script, which will execute it during the instance creation. Note that this can be executed only once in the lifetime of the instance. Okay. Okay. We will see that. How to do that? We'll just we'll try to create Can anyone help me in doing this one? So Praveen, can you help me? What are we trying to do here? We are again creating a EC2 instance of Linux, and we are making that server as a web server with the help of Bootstrap, which means as I'm making this a Bootstrap, I'm not supposed to perform any of these listed tasks. Correct? Okay, Praveen, please help me to create an instance.
Just click on the instance and then launch instance here. You can give the name of the server.
Okay,
You can give any name, Bootstrap instance or whatever you wanted to give.
good.
And then we can select the OS. So let's select the Amazon Linux OS because we are checking for the free trial version. So that's the reason we go for that. And then this is fine. So yeah,
Okay. What do you
so we
mean by
can
this one?
select this. Uh, we are selecting this. It's a SSD with the 5 kernel and other details
Basically,
are there. But
this talks about operating system, correct?
operating system, yeah, that's right. The, Amazon Linux is the operating system.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's the one. So we are going for the free tier eligibility. So we are going for one CPU and then 1 gigs of memory. So that should
Mhm.
be fine. So this is the RAM and the CPU. So we can go for that or anything which is freely available. So we'll go for the current one, whatever it is there,
Okay.
because it's free tier eligible. And then yeah, we can use the existing key, whatever is there. So we'll just
Why
use
do we
the
need
one
a key,
yesterday
Praveen?
in order to log in, right? So when we try to log in, so it does the authentication. So for that, like when we're trying to log in, right? So that's basically the usage of the key. So it's the exchange of the information between the server and other, between
Exactly
this
correct. So,
AWS server with
in
the
addition to this, see, if I create an instance, right, then you will be able to access over the internet, over the web. If I just, enter this IP address, even I can access, Praveen also can access from Canada. But if I create a machine, Praveen will not be able to access, I mean, he will not be able to log in and work on that particular computer, right? So that's how the security. So whoever have this key, they are the authorized persons to log into those machines. Correct, Praveen? Okay. Yes, Praveen. What is next? We just selected the key. And what do you mean by do we need to create a security group or Praveen? Praveen, not able to hear you.
hello.
Yes, Praveen, now.
Yeah, sorry. Yesterday we tried to make all the users access that application, so we did not give any key. So we can just leave that allow SSH traffic anywhere as it
So
is.
it is
And
not the
if you want,
it is not the key. It's a kind of a firewall thing which we are making use, which means okay, let's discuss that later. Okay, what else? So do
um,
you need to create a new one or can I select the existing one?
select any existing one.
Existing one. So which one is that? We have named it correctly. Uh, let's say, for example, Linux wizard size. So how to
Yeah,
check whether the necessary ports have been
compare,
enabled? Compare. So here it
compare.
is
Yeah,
saying,
port is
right?
8080 and then 22. Yesterday we created, right? So this is the same thing
Correct.
which we're using.
22 without enabling this 22 port on your machine, you will not be able to log into this machine. If you really want to log into machine, you are supposed to enable this one. And as we are installing Apache Tomcat, and the request and response will be transferred with the help of HTTP protocol for the port 80. And we are saying we have not given any restrictions here, so that everybody or anyone can send a request to this machine. Okay, all right. else? And finally, what is the
Yeah.
storage? Storage is
Yeah.
an hard disk drive. So
For
we
now, we can use the
AWS world,
same thing.
correct. In AWS world, we call this as a volume, right?
Volume. Yeah. Yeah.
And also some some people were asking, can we create an instance? I mean, can we create only one instance at a time? No, you can create multiple number of instances. If you need 100 machines of the similar configuration of the same configuration, whatever we have selected here, if you just go and click on launch, 100 EC2 instance, 100 servers, 100 computers will get created at a time. Okay,
I think
so
we're
it is
good.
just we can increase or decrease based on your thing. Now
Require.
coming to Bootstrap, no. So we need to click on advanced details. So till now we did not discuss anything on advanced details. So we will learn here. So basically, here you can see we will see what and all what are these options. What do you mean by shutdown behavior, stop or terminate? We will see them. But in order to execute some bootstrap, so I have some script. So this is the script which I'm using. So what exactly it is doing? So see, the same thing we did it, right? As soon as we entered with the user EC2 user, and afterwards we made that as a root user by executing sudo su. And afterwards we did update the yum repository, and again we did the HTTPD. I mean, we did install the HTTPD, and later we get into this folder and we did some changes, and we we start the HTTPD service, and also we are checking the configuration. We are making sure this particular HTTP the necessary configuration should be on, right? So with this, I don't have to, as soon as I create an instance, this script should also get updated or executed. But it is not a good practice every time to, I mean, I'm just giving one example how exactly Bootstrap scripts work. But in real time, there will be some other thing which can related to your operating system or some other work which can be executed. So which will be executed once. So after this, I'm just clicking on launch system, and let's see how it goes. And we'll have to make sure the necessary ports have been already enabled. Where can we see Praveen instance? What and all he has configured? Go to security, and under security, you can see the inbound rules, right? So here you can see this is the inbound rule which we have selected. So port 80 for FTP and 22 for SSHing the your instance. Okay. For example,
Naveen,
if you
just
don't want, yes,
yeah, just one question. Why we are writing the last comment means still start HTTP start. I able to understand, but the last comment check config
this is the
of
official, this is
yeah.
the official steps. In the sense, for each and every software installation, uh, once we start, any of our service, we are making sure that the necessary configurations are on a but this is not a mandatory one also. I just
Okay.
found it in Google. I just mentioned it. This is not mandatory, but it is always good practice to check the configuration of HTTPD. So if you make it on, then all the necessary configurations will be up and running.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Naveen.
It is good to have these steps as well, this script, but it is not mandatory. And without that steps also, yesterday we were able to install Tomcat, correct? Now it is now as soon as we create this instance, it is a web server. Please understand yesterday what we did. Yesterday we just created an we created an instance. At that time, I was saying it is just a EC2 instance. But when did I say that instance has become a web server? After executing these steps only, I can call that as a web server. But now, as I have a Bootstrap script that will take care of the installation of Apache Tomcat, so I don't have to perform anything. I'll just copy the IP address of this machine and I'll just execute. Correct? This is what my website.
Jhenkaar, I have one question. Like, can we run that Bootstrap script from a file rather than pasting in the box?
Definitely we can run, but it is always preferable to execute. See, it is instead of Bootstrap, we can say some other script, but Bootstrap scripts needs to be executed during the uh, instance creation. But it is possible to execute any of the scripts once we have our instance.
No. What I'm asking is like, can we run a Bootstrap script from a file rather than copy pasting directly?
Come again?
Like from a shared, drive or from a file, like where you can pass a file rather than commands. Can we run like that?
That is possible. Yes, that is possible, right?
How can you give that? Like passing file, like kind of thing, instead of pasting comments.
Okay, so basically you'll have to you have an instance, for example. We have an instance we have created, correct? Let's say this is the search server or kind of any, just use the EC2 instance. Now we have some file systems, correct? We will discuss these things probably next week. We have EBS volume.
Naveen, sorry to interrupt. Naveen, sorry to interrupt. So, what was the question? Can you please tell us once again? Actually, we couldn't hear the question properly, for which you are currently answering.
Okay, please repeat the question.
So here we are actually passing script directly in that scribble pad, whatever it was there. Is it possible to execute a bootstrap from a file? That's the question. Like rather than passing commands directly.
Correct. See,
So
his question is,
instead of
have
copying and pasting it, so can we select the file? That's the question,
okay.
right? If I understand it correctly, that's the
Yes,
question.
yes, correct.
During the instance creation you are talking about?
Yes.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. No. See, basically, the boot scripts will be executed during the instance creation. We'll just paste the command in the window. But what I was thinking, we can execute some commands or some scripts from the shared location or in terms of file, and we can get those files and we can get on those info or script on this machine and we can execute after the instance creation. But Bootstrap, it has to be executed during the instance creation. It has to be executed at once.
Okay.
The
So there
answer,
is only like whatever the commands you have to pass in that box, right? Whatever you earlier showed, right? Other than that, you can pass. We can't pass from anywhere, right?
that is correct.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
So, Naveen, I have one thing. Bootstrap means if it is an alternative way to create an EC2 instance as a server, right? So once means yesterday you means give us an example where you first created that EC2 instance and after that you put those command to install the Tomcat server. Here
Okay.
in this example, what we are doing, we are making EC2 instance as a starting as a web server, putting those script as a bootstrap.
That is correct.
Right. So it is the same process, but in an alternative way.
That is, see, that's what I was, I just mentioned in the beginning of the class itself. So yesterday we did follow these many steps to make this EC2 instance as a web server, but if we make use of some scripts during the instance creation only, these scripts get updated so that I don't have to perform any manual steps here. Okay, so typically, uh, just to show this how exactly these boot scripts work, I've just selected this scenario. Typically, we will just make use of we'll install all the necessary software with some tools like we have Puppet, Chef, right? So with the help of those tools, we will install the necessary software on the instances. There will be some some requirement or just to update something or just to boost our operating system configurations, then we will go with the boot script execution. Okay. Pratishtha?
Yes, yes, Naveen.
Okay. So now the complete machine is working as a web server without actually doing anything. So this is one advantage of executing the bootstrap script, so that manual things can be avoided after the instance creation. Now, similarly, we will try to execute on Windows as well. So the client requirements can be of anything. So some of the requirements may come as we will use a Linux machine as my web server, so that all the code can be deployed on the Linux machine itself. Or some of our requirements can be we'll just make use of the Windows machine itself instead of Linux machine, and we'll consider that as a web server. Correct? Which means, see, this is my local computer. If I have to install Apache Tomcat, what I will do, we'll just go to Apache website and we'll just download the package and we'll just follow some simple instructions and we will make it done. So similarly, we did install WinSCP, PuTTY, right? So this is the way where we can install the necessary software on Windows machine. Correct? So, but in Linux, we execute some commands to install the necessary software, right? So we will try to create one Windows machine and we'll try to make that machine as a web server. And uh, any questions here? Any questions? And yesterday we were also talking about, I mean, see, we just installed HTTPD by Apache. We can also install Nginx so that we can also make this server as a web server. So it's a one task for you guys for tomorrow. Just try to install Nginx on your EC2 Linux machine and let's see how it works. Okay, will you guys do that? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, uh, just for to see, I'm just showing you the usage of Linux machine and Windows machine by installing something. I feel that this is a bit easier to understand. So that's the reason we just started and installed the HTTPD software on the EC2. So similarly, we will try to install Internet Information Service. Service, it's not a service, it's a services. So we'll try to install this on Windows machine and we'll make that as a web server. Please understand, instead of this, I can install the Apache Tomcat. However, typically we do install the software. We can do that, but this is already inbuilt, which is provided by Microsoft. We will try to see this one as well. Okay, are you all with me? Are you understanding?
Yeah.
So my work is done. So let me go on terminate. Now my work is done. Now let me create a instance of Windows. Again, Prithvi, can you help me in creating Windows machine? Just given a name and selected the Windows operating system, right? And I'm just going with the default, a free tier eligible instance. And here we can select created a Windows key, correct?
Yes.
And I can select the new security group, or I can select the existing one. So can I select file and see whether this is the security group? No, this is a Windows. Let me cancel it. So it's not 5, it should be 4. So let's see. Okay, there is a RDP protocol is there, correct? Okay, let's select this one. And later, if you want, we can edit to add a port 80 because we are making this server as a web server. And this is the storage which I'm selecting here. And that's it.
Launch.
Let's click on launch. We can click on view all instance, or we can click on the image ID or instance ID we call. We'll just open this one and we will verify the steps as well. All right, so let it start. So it needs minimum 3 to 4 minutes of time to get the password. Let's click on this one. Let's try to generate the password for click it something. That's okay. Meantime, I can also execute a Bootstrap script to make a Windows server also as a web server. We'll see that one later. Okay, let me click on connect. Yeah, I can 4, 3, 1. Okay, password also got generated. Now I can log in with my public DNS. So I should get a remote desktop connection, and I should go ahead with typing some computer name and click on connect. And what is the username of Windows? It is a administrator, and the password which has generated from the temp file. Click on OK. Yes. See, there are so many ways where we can install multiple software. Right? Here I've just selected HTTPD. So, going forward, we'll be installing a couple of softwares on EC2 instance as well as in Windows and Linux EC2 instances as well. Just to get familiarized with the term, like most of us will be keep on using Apache Tomcat. We'll consider as a web server, right? So for that, we have just taken an example of making Windows and Linux server as a web server, and both can be handled manually. We can install necessary software after creation of EC2 instance, or we can also execute some Bootstrap scripts to uh, to make that server as a web server. It is not only for web server I'm talking about. If you want to achieve something else also, that can be done instead of web server script. It is just kind of a executing some commands on your machine. Now, just click. So we're just making use of some facility which is available in Windows, and we are making this as a web server. So there is an option called a server manager. Click on the server manager. And before that, can we check whether we have opened 8.0? This is the security group which I have created. So let me edit inbound rules. What I'm doing here, we have opened RDP protocol with the port range 3318. That is a port which is allowed. And for HTTP, as I'm trying to make this as a web server, so this has to listen to HTTP protocol, right? So yeah, selected HTTP, and I'm not doing any restrictions as such. Then the rules. Okay. Now, once that is done, just click on Files and Storage Services. Just, sorry, click on Add Roles and Features and click on Next. Follow Next. Here, can you see IIS? Right? Just select this one. Click on Add Feature. That got selected. So basically, I'm just making this a IIS service which is available in the Windows machine, and I'm just installing with the already the which is available in the package. So just installing. So how do we get to know how exactly it is installing? So there will be some folder gets created in the C drive. Let's install. Okay, there is something called as inet pub, and here we have a see guys. Typically, when you install Apache Tomcat on Windows, how it works, there will be some bin or src, and after which there will be some folder structure, right? So instead of downloading Apache Tomcat and then installing this, so I'm just going in a other way where I can make use of the existing facility of Windows machine. So here you can see now once it is installed, we can copy the DNS name of this instance, or we can go ahead and paste the IP address, whichever is fine. So we'll just select the IP address of Windows machine. Let's see, once that is done, it is saying installation succeeded. We'll see. Okay. This is the default one. How exactly this pages come? Because of these contents. Now, what I'll do, I'll just remove these things. Okay. I'll I'll just open a notepad and I'll just customize this one. So what I'll do, I'll just save this as index.html. What is the default file where each server looks into, especially a web server, it is index.html. Right? So please, please make sure you select save as type as all file, and I'm just creating index.html. Now, fine. Let's say you can give anything as sample code, get some sample codes.
So, Naveen, as you are searching some HTML code for Linux, the path is different for the server, and for Windows, the path is different. Or is it different as you installed a different server in Windows and HTTPD on Linux?
Linux will be different. Linux, we
Mm,
it depends how where exactly you kept your code. If you take a
mm,
servlet, whatever, right? So you will be giving us just index.html as an initial page. If you go to any web service call and all, you should give some path, right? That's a service path. It all depends on us, like where exactly we can put. It is not, I mean,
mm,
see, basically, index.html will be set under www slash html, right? So
mm.
where it will
Yes.
store. But we can also customize this folder where we can give the path in the XML file, if you remember that,
Mm,
correct?
mm, mm.
That this can be customized.
Okay, okay. And Naveen, the server that you installed in Windows, that is the default web server that is present in Windows itself through Server Manager. You just installed it, right?
That is correct. So
Okay.
even in your Windows, or when you install Java, correct? Even Glassfish
Mm,
server also, this will be installed automatically, correct? I mean that option is there. Yes or no?
yeah.
Similarly, this is the inbuilt one which we have it.
Mm, okay.
I'm just I just selected something just to make sure we are just customizing our website. Now it is done. Okay. Now if I just refresh it, yeah, this is how you can do. So similarly, I'm giving a Bootstrap for Windows also. So just instead of following these things, you can just execute this script so that which will take care of the installation of this server. I'll just paste it in the chat. So probably by tomorrow, you can execute it. Guys, once again, I'm requesting, please, try to do some practicals as soon as you complete your session. That way it is fine. Okay, so this is for Windows and this is the Linux.
Naveen, this script is present also in the PPT.
For PPT, I don't think. If you want, I'll update it and also. Better you
Okay,
take it.
okay. Okay, thanks, thanks.
So, else we have this. Okay, we have completed this one. Now, if you guys are comfortable, I'll just talk about some EC2 instance, which is very much important in all your certifications and also day-to-day work in AWS. But I don't know, we having already some sort of- So yes, of course, all the Windows applications will have this uh, IAS service that is which is offered by Microsoft. As we created a Microsoft Windows 8, yeah, this is available for all the Windows by default. You can say, yeah, as you mentioned, it's a pre-installed application. Okay, so if you guys are comfortable, then only I'll go with, yesterday someone was asking, we skipped AWS domains and, services. Correct. So Linux, we only, because we don't have any GUI option, right? And this is not provided by Microsoft. So Linux, explicitly we'll have to install this software. Coming. Okay. Now, this is very important. I want to make you understand in terms of the service domains, what is domains and what are services, and we'll try to understand this, with the help of AWS console. But my work is done, so let me delete it. You should be very much cautious. If you just forget, instance termination, if you just leave it for some days, then once your monthly quota are done, you'll be charging. So please ensure you you terminate your instances as and when you your work. Okay. Now let us understand what are services. Right? And today we'll try to understand in detail the AWS console. Okay. So this is the AWS console. Here we talk about services and domains. For example, last class we discussed about infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, right? So in order to make, nowhere I see infrastructure as a service, the term in the AWS console. But there are some services. With the help of the services, I can achieve service model as a infrastructure as a service, which means I'll try to combine some services. I'll just try to combine some services so that which will help me to achieve infrastructure as a service, right? So by considering that, we have whatever we see, we call them as services, right? We call them as services. EC2 is a service. Security Hub is a service. SNS is a service. Cloud Formation is also a service. And one thing is, it does cache all those things. So whenever you revisit your AWS console, it does list your recently visited info, right? But it's always good to go ahead and search what you need. For example, if you need EC2, just type EC2 and you will get it. Correct? And if you need some DynamoDB, you type it. This is what the difference between domain and services. What do you mean by domain? We can categorize the service. We have more than 100 plus services, right? But all the somewhere we are just grouping them so that I can recognize these services under one domain. For example, if you come to EC2, we have, right? Sorry, if you have compute, I'm talking about compute is a domain, right? If I talk about compute domain, I can see these many services. Not only these many, we have few more also, but we'll try to learn, EC2, the elastic beanstalk, lambda, auto scaling, and load balance. Even I'm not sure what is this ECS and ECF, but we'll try to cover as much as possible. These are the domains which are available in AWS. Under each domain, I can see multiple services. If you take an example of compute domain, I can see these many services, and we will be learning EC2 Elastic Beanstalk as well. How they have configured all these services under compute. All are computing only. What do you mean by computing? We are just trying to create some infrastructure. We will see what exactly EC2, which means how exactly Elastic Beanstalk works. Let's have a quick introduction of all these services, and later we'll be learning in detail. And afterwards, we'll try to understand EC2 instance type as well. Okay. So as we all know that EC2 is nothing but a computer or a system. It's a bare machine. There will not be any pre-installed software which are part of EC2. It is just a simple computer with the selected operating system. Whereas in compute section, we have Elastic Beanstalk also. What do you mean by Elastic Beanstalk? I was saying it is an example of platform as a service, which means it is, I can say it is an improved version of EC2. Can I call this as the improved version of EC2? Why? Because this is also EC2 machine only. I can call Beanstalk also. It's a machine. It's a server, but there are some prerequisite software which have been already installed based on the selection of the application. If I'm selecting Java, it does give corresponding facility to upload my Java code. If it is a Python, we just try to give the corresponding server or infrastructure to that particular Python Java code base, right? So this is how Elastic. So I can say this is kind of an improved version of EC2. Now we will see what exactly AWS Lambda. See, basically Lambda, if you want to execute some parallel processing or some background jobs, then we'll make use of AWS Lambda. Don't get confused. Just trying to introduce. These are the services which we'll be learning. So see, this is all these comes under compute. We'll be, of course, we are already started learning EC2, and also today we'll be learning about EC2 instance type. We will see that, and Beanstalk will be learning Lambda, auto scaling, and load balancer. So with auto scaling in the sense, we will see. Let's not worry about these things, but we'll have a detailed session on this. So, but I just wanted to make you convey the information that we will group the necessary services under one domain. So similarly, we have many domains called storage, database, security, management, customer management, and many more. Okay, do you understand the differences between service and domain? Or any questions here? Yes or no?
No, we can continue.
Okay. So, and most of us will be using some services called Elastic Load Balancer. What do you mean by load balancer? For example, typically the load balancer will be the end user will be using this load balancer. So we'll just try to give a alias name to this load balancer, for example, google.com. So we'll try to enter this URL. As soon as we enter this google.com, it will not directly it will not directly access the instances. For example, we have around 4 instances which can suffice my requirement. This is the PC1, and this is the 2, this is the third one, and this is the fourth one. So all the 4 instances, all the 4 servers or instances, software installation, functionality, everything are same. But still, why do we need 4 machines? If something goes wrong with this machine, then let's say if we have only one machine and we don't have any load balancer. If that is the case, we'll directly, as soon as we enter this request, we'll directly connect into this machine. Due to some reason, if this machine is not working or something we injected something due to which this particular server is not working, then the complete service or complete facility will go down, right? So that is the only reason we will make use of load balancer, and instead of having one machine, we will try to create n number of machines based on our need, based on the traffic. And it is always possible to increase the number of machines as such. And if we can increase the number of instances, but somehow we should handle the traffic to all these instances, right? So that can be managed by load balancer. So which means the initial request will come to load balancer, then load balancer will be keep on monitoring these devices, health checks it does health check of all the devices and whichever is free, and it starts routing the request to these instances. So this is nothing but a load balancer. We will learn. We have network load balancer, application load balancer, classic load balancer, gateway load balancer. We have different kinds of this. Probably next week we'll start with the load balancer, right? So okay. After load balancer, we have something called as auto scaling as well. As the name itself, it indicates that auto scaling in the sense either we can increase the instance in number or we can decrease. For example, let's say initially this I've just developed a system called Google, and this functionality is to search whatever which is needed to the user. So initially, I think that, and you may think that in the during morning hours, right? Most of us will be using, especially in India, most of us will be using Google. It differs, but if you look at the traffic of Google in morning time and during night time, definitely there will be some changes, right? For example, if you say 1,000 requests, it may come in the morning, so probably we may get around 200 requests during the night time. Now, AWS is also giving a facility that we can increase the instances or decrease the instances based on the condition which we give. That is, Praveen, yesterday I was saying, right? So we have something called as auto scaling, which means based on my requirement, based on my requirement, I can increase the number of instances or I can decrease the number of instances. But please keep keep it in mind that load balancer and auto scaling are combined each other, or they are directly proportional to each other. So without load balancing, these will not work. Okay, so we'll try to combine all these facilities and we'll see probably in upcoming session. So similarly, we have storage. Uh, we have storage domain also. So under storage domain, we'll be learning elastic block storage. This is the EBS volume. Whenever we create an instance, there will be EBS volume gets allocated. That we have seen it, right? So under EBS, as soon as we create it, there will be 30 GB of hard disk or volume got allocated, and when we delete that instance, that will be they are erased permanently. And similarly, we have this is kind of a disk information we say, like kind of a C drive or E drive or D drive. We have something called as elastic file store, which means it is kind of a pen drive or CD. It's a kind of a external volume we can attach. See, if you create any disk, if you create any C drive or D drive, that can't be shared. But if you create a EFS volume, which means if we create a elastic file store, we can share a single volume across multiple machines. We will see them. We'll do that. And similarly, we have S3. It's again a storage device. So most of us, knowingly or unknowingly, in AWS, we'll be using S3. This is a storage service which is offered by Amazon. We will have a detailed discussions on this. This is about storage domain, and if you look at database domain, so we'll be using Amazon RDS, uh, we'll be using Amazon Aurora, and also we'll learn about Amazon uh, DynamoDB. These are the different database services which which is offered by Amazon under database domain. And similarly, we'll also learn about networking. So networking, we will see what is VPC, VPN, and what is AWS Direct Connect, what exactly load balancing, what is Route 53, right? So that's how your domain translation will happen. We will see them in detail, and also we have something called as AWS security. We will learn AWS CloudWatch, CloudFormation, some of the services also we see. Basically, what I'm trying to say here, we have categorized 100 plus AWS services under some domain. So accordingly, they have grouped under each domain. For example, compute domain will have certain services. So similarly, storage domain will have certain services. We should be in a position to understand which services comes under where. So this is what our duty. We should know by looking if we can hear some service called Elastic Beanstalk, we should say this is a compute domain service. Is that clear?
Yes, Naveen. So, Naveen, all the services we have a detailed discussion in future, like the DB you
Correct.
said, or Elastic Bin, or okay, Lambda.
Correct.
Okay.
Whatever I have listed, most of the things I'm covering. Elastic auto scaling, EBS, we are covering EFS, S3, RDS, Aurora, Dynamo DB, everything we are covering.
Thanks, Naveen.
And we have some queue services, simple queue service, simple notification service, or simple email service. So instead of writing a mail, you are a developer, Pratisha. You must be knowing how difficult to set up a mail configurations by writing some code, right? So here we can make use of some services. This is called as customer engagement. So we can AWS is offering some services. Probably if you want to have a queue service, that is also it's available. We'll try to learn as much as possible. I'll try to cover. Okay. And I want to discuss one more thing that is very important. If you guys are okay, I'll just continue. Else, we'll stop. This is very much important. Every day you're supposed to deal with these instance types, and you must know instance types. If you guys are comfortable today, now at this after 10, I'll continue. Just need another 10 to 15 minutes. But this can't be repeated. So this is very much important. If you guys are okay, I'll just continue today. Are you guys are okay? Yes, sir, no, at least one.
Yeah, no.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. See, the most important things will come in your day-to-day work in AWS, selection of an instance. If you see your client or customer will be they'll be very much concerned about the instance type. If you select the wrong instance type, the complete environment will go down or will not work as expected. And also it also depends on the cost, right? So we will see what is instance type and what are the different types of instance. We'll see. Okay, I was talking about this instance type. This is very much important. Okay, so typically we have a general purpose instances, memory optimized, storage optimized, accelerated computing, and compute optimized. See, we can, as the name itself indicates that these some of the instance types can be used for general purpose. General purpose in the sense, I will not have any, uh, goal or intention or any requirement. I can just, if I don't have a particular requirement, for example, let's say I want to create a web server, then it is, I don't think, we need much things to be done. So in that case, I may prefer to go ahead and select these kind of instances. What is this general purpose T2 burstable? We will see what is burstable, but before that, let's try to see, do we have M5? Okay, we will see M5. See, we have these many M5 category uh, instances. What exactly, what exactly it happens if you select any of these? For example, if you take m5 dot large, please understand the instance type. If I select an m5 dot large, which means I will be getting two virtual CPUs, two vCPUs. So each task or each thread will take care of the individual vCPU. For a multiprocessing, we must be having multiple number of virtual CPU. We will see in detail, probably in coming sessions, or probably tomorrow we'll see what is the CPU, how exactly vCPU works. So basically, if I select this one, I will be getting 8 GB of RAM with two CPUs. Instead, if I select M5.24 I will be getting 96 vCPUs, which means 96 into 2, those many number of tasks can be executed simultaneously. Are you understanding? So see, it all depends on your requirement, what kind of instance you need. So, for example, if someone ask you and say that I want uh, I want to store some huge amount of data. If that is the case, we will go ahead and prefer H1 or I3 or D2 series of instances. We have some little explanation here. R type, wherever you say R, for example, let's say R type. Let's take okay, here only we can see, right? So here we have C5, C5, 4xlar, which means all will define the number of vCPUs and memory. So that's what the instance type, right? So it's our capability to judge which kind of EC2 instance type needs to be selected while creation of an instance. If any of your requirements comes with memory, where you need to deal with memory, then or where your RAM capacity should be more, in that case, please go ahead and select R category of instance type. Or wherever you see some requirement to kind of a installation of a database, you please go ahead and select compute or these kind of see in this category. So again, see, the choosing a right instance type based on the selection of R, C, M, I, G, and T, which means here we should select if your requirement is of database, blindly go ahead and consider C series. And under this C series, again you need to analyze how much data you may expect. So based on that, you should be able to select your instance type under C5 category. Are you getting what I'm saying? So see, the first requirement to select the instance type is you should understand whether it is related to memory, or whether it is related to database, or whether are we doing some video streaming, or something kind of machine learning. So in that case, first we need to understand the requirement of or you need to understand kind of a business. Based on the business, you select your machines. So under this category, if you say somewhere you need to uh, um, get the EC2 instance somewhere between R and C, then this is the medium level which comes under R and C category. If you just type M, yeah, we have M5 large, M5 2X large, right? So if you just select this one, you will be able to get the corresponding EC2 instance detail. And it's up to you after analyzing the incoming traffic and business and everything. It's up to you which one you will select as an instance. Is it clear? So typically, always please refer, this official page. It's a easy. So the documentation, I prefer always to go ahead and use the official documentation. So the official documentation says it's docs.aws.amazon.com. So just if you can, look into this, and they have clearly explained uh, which, I mean, which requirement you need to go with the C4 X large, C4 no, X 2X large. So these are all the options which I've clearly described. So this is what I was explaining, right? Just go through it, and if you have some doubts on the selection of instance, we'll discuss it again. But it is, on a high level, it is simple. First of all, we need to understand the business, whether it's a social media, or whether it's a banking application, or it's a healthcare. So, this involves much interaction with the database. So everything we need to understand. Based on that, if you think you'll be dealing with the database. When you talk about database, there will be read and write operation, right? So in that case, IOPS should be more. So in that case, please try to select the category of I. But in under I itself, we will have multiple number of instances. So how to select that? So that in order to select the instance type under I5, then you need to yeah. So you need to judge your incoming data based on the size and based on the number of requests which are getting in. Accordingly, you need to select the uh, vCPUs and memory. Okay, this is what I had to discuss today. Any questions on this?
Naveen, for certification purpose, is a question like which type of instance you should select, which type of memory you should select, should come, because it's too much theoretical
Definitely,
and it's very
definitely.
difficult to remember.
That is the reason I have, I've considered this topic. That's what I was saying. Because this is too much, and especially we'll be covering one more topic called, EC2 pricing, right? So pricing also we will get at least, 3 to 4 questions, especially on the instance set. That's the reason I'm just iterating this one. You need to understand, and you need to go through the AWS documentation. Definitely, at least, minimum at least 4 to 5 questions, or minimum 5 to 6 you can expect from this EC2 instance type, because there are many, right? And so definitely they will ask, what if you want to have a storage optimized one, but the moderate the incoming traffic would be 10 million or 20 million per hour. So if that is the case, you need to understand. You need to clearly have a knowledge on this EC2 instance. See, it is in a simple term. We will do like this. First of all, we need to understand the business. Okay, if it is relating to video streaming, or right, if that is the case, the first step will be, okay, I should go ahead with G type of EC2 instance. Under G, which instance needs to be selected?
Naveen, your voice is breaking, unable to hear you.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. Any questions? See, basically, it's all, it's and definitely clients are very much particular on selection of instance type. So that's the reason I'm emphasizing here. So you cannot blindly suggest, okay, I can go and I can go ahead with the C5 or R3 or M5. No, you can't say like that. So first of all, you need to understand the kind of a business, and based on that, you need to analyze the data, which is kind of incoming traffic, or what kind of operations we need. Are we going to have some databases, or it's kind of a web application, or it's more of a CPU utilization, or it's more of a memory. So if that is based on that, you need to choose these categories. Afterwards, you need to analyze the data and you need to proceed with your instance selection. Okay, so I've given this link also. There are a lot of things are there. Please try to look at this page and try to spend some time. Definitely, you will get a lot of info. Right? So because once again I'm reiterating the selection of EC2 instance, we forget about the certification in real time also, it is very much important. And you are being a AWS solution architect, you should be in the position to suggest the customer which type of instance they need to go with. Right? They'll completely rely on you, and they'll go accordingly. If something comes up, then there'll be a problem. Right?
Yeah, sure, Navin. Yeah.
Go through them. Any questions or any concerns?
Naveen, Vinod,
Yes, Vin.
since we are talking about this instances and the services, servers, everything, I'm getting like bit confused. I'm getting confused, like, which are the servers and which are the services we are using. Can you give a just an example, like, what all servers we'll be using and what are the services we are providing?
No, no,
Since, like,
no. We are
Apache server we are
server
using.
side. See, Apache service server, it is up to us whether we can declare that as a web server, a database server, or a front-end server. Correct? Server is different.
Yeah,
The services are different. No, servers are nowhere concerned here. We are concerned about the services which are offered by AWS. So that's what I was saying. See, these are the services. So whatever we are seeing here, Amazon VPC, load balancer, Route 53, databases, storages. If you come to storage, EBS, EFS, S3, all these are all services. Okay, not the servers. These are all services. The selection of instance type will decide the server. That's the server. Do you see my point? The selection of EC2 instance type is the server, whereas these are all the services, CBS, databases, Elastic Beanstalk, load balancer, right? EC2. These are all the services, but on selection of EC2 instance type, your server that makes your server.
yeah, understood. Thanks.
Any other questions? Or are we good to close? If you don't have anything, I'll stop the recording.